relationship roadmap. This is, I have to say, the part of the Pairs Essentials curriculum that is woven throughout the whole entire course. What we're talking about when we say the relationship roadmap, it's that journey with our partner. It's the journey that we take in our everyday life, in our experiences, in how we respond to another person. And we have that option. With the relationship roadmap, you can see that there's a pain side and a pleasure side. And this really came from Daniel Cazriel. As we proceed further, you're going to see where it all comes from. The relationship roadmap has two directions. And what we really want to see is how we get to the pleasure side. Or if we're already on the pleasure side, how we stay on that pleasure side. When we think of the relationship roadmap, we want to do exactly that. We want to think of it as a map. Right? We're at this one space, and if I think about my future being filled with pleasure, if I think about this partner and this relationship and what I want it to look like in the future, what am I going to do right now to try to make that come true? So it's kind of like the moment of pause. In every situation, sometimes it's really important to take a pause before we react. To think about what we want to do next to get us to the pleasure side. Sometimes we react too quickly and our passion comes out. We could say this, some things that we can never take back. And then we're on the pain side. If you can see here, the couple together, they're on the pleasure side. They have happiness, they have serenity, they have love, they have hope, they have joy. They have all these good feelings. And they're strong together. If you look at the pain side, somebody's by themselves. And somebody has anger, sadness, fear, hurt. We do that sometimes. Sometimes we say things and we end up being on the pain side of a relationship. We end up wondering if we're ever going to get to the happiness side. It's really important that as we move along, we realize that feelings are okay. All feelings are okay. But they come so fast. They come faster than we can even know that they're there. What's really important is that as we look at this relationship roadmap, we can pick two different ways to go. And what we're trying to do with Pairs Essentials is to know that there's that moment, that time in the center, a fork in the road, where it splits and we can decide, wait, pause, let me think. What are the tools that I can implement to make sure that I'm on the pleasure side? On the pleasure side of the roadmap, you have great feelings. Let's go to the pain side first. I can ask somebody to read what that looks like. On the pain side, you have dis-ease, right? It's discomfort. But not only is it discomfort, but being in pain and feeling like isolated or alone, or that you're in danger or fear or upset, or you're in a space that doesn't feel good, sometimes does end up as disease. Sometimes it does end up as anxiety, high blood pressure, diabetes, depression. In its worst of cases, a lot of negative things happen. You feel distress, distrust, unhappiness, pain, danger. You anticipate fear. You have anger. That's what the pain side looks like. On the pleasure side, I'd ask somebody to read that. You have ease. You have eustress, right? You got over such a hurdle, but it felt good. You have trust. You have happiness, pleasure, desire, love. What's important is to explain that it doesn't mean that if you're on the pleasure side, everything's always fantastic. It's not. We're still going to have challenges. But there's a big difference between taking on challenges from the pleasure side when you do have ease and trust and happiness than taking on challenges when there's already unhappiness and distrust and dis-ease. So that's really important for people to know, that just because you're on the pleasure side doesn't mean it's pleasure nonstop. We're all going to have these conflicts with each other, and things that we got to resolve and ways that are best to resolve it. But it means that we have the best chance at conquering them. We have a great chance of conquering them with somebody else together and still be in a space of happiness. The symptoms of unhappiness. We have things like illness that we just spoke about, fatigue, depression, rigidity of personality, people who don't feel that they can express themselves so much, constriction, isolation, closed, guarded, antisocial behavior, range of addictions. It's not that people who experience these symptoms are bad, that it's a testament to the fact that we weren't born to feel pain. We weren't born to want to be in a state of constant unhappiness. And what do? We do everything in our power to try to feel better. That's where, addictions come from. That's, we're trying to change the situation. We're trying to feel better in a state that doesn't feel good. So that's that side of the roadmap, the pain side. On the pleasure side of the roadmap, you have signs of happiness, health. You feel good, you feel energetic, your well-being, you have flexibility, you can adjust with the things that are thrown your way. You have creativity, going over challenges, about creating a new business, doing something new, which is not easy when you're feeling unhappy. When you're on the happiness side, you have creativity, you have openness, you can share, you can take personal responsibility for things. You can say, hey, that was my fault, because you feel secure enough in a situation to go ahead and say, it's my fault, to go ahead and be courageous and try something new, try something creative. You have a capacity for intimacy, and you have a respect for yourself. Those sort of signs of happiness is what makes you really strong. You leave yourself vulnerable to, like we said, disease, depression, fatigue, isolation, addictions, being on the pain side. So we want you to know, we want all the participants to know that every single word that goes into the Pairs Essentials class and curriculum is teaching those skills to get to the pleasure side, or if we're on it, to go ahead and stay on the pleasure side. Where Daniel Cazriel comes in is right here. When we go over these biologically based needs. So the basic human needs are what? Water, air, food, shelter. But there's one more on this slide. I'd ask somebody to tell me about it. The last one is bonding. As we reviewed at the very beginning of this class, bonding is emotional openness and physical closeness. What's really important is trying to figure out what the difference is between bonding and all the other ones. Right? So water, air, food, shelter. What's very specific about those is that I can breathe on my own. I can drink water on my own. I can crawl into shelter on my own. I can eat on my own. But bonding, what about that bonding? We need another person for bonding. That means that part of my biologically based need for bonding means that I have to learn how to develop a relationship with somebody. I want them to know that I can be there for them, just like I would like to know that that person could be there for me. What's really important about the difference between all of these is knowing that when I'm deprived of air, it's a really bad situation. When I'm deprived of food, water, shelter, it's a really bad situation. My body aches. Your body will ache. And the same is true for bonding. When we have a deprivation of bonding, it is a serious situation. Daniel Casriel, many years ago in the 1970s, was one of the first psychiatrists that came out doing group therapy for individuals in addiction treatment programs. And what he found is that hugging was great. Bonding was great. Talking to somebody unmasked, that physical closeness actually created a lot of successful outcomes in his treatment when addictions are very difficult. He found some positive outcomes. He found a higher success rate. He found that hugging allowed people to release. So this isn't speaking about sex. This isn't just saying to go and, sex would create bonding. That's not bonding. Bonding is having somebody know about you, being real, being honest. That physical closeness is good too. That can be sitting right next to somebody. That could be hugging. That could be sex, but neither one is on their own. It's not about, hugging a tree and feeling like that's gonna create bonding because you're so close to it, but we haven't even shared anything. Bonding, again, is the combination of emotional openness and physical closeness. And what we are absolutely saying here is that the deprivation of this bonding causes such pain in people that we want to give you all the tools possible to create these bonding relationships, to create pleasure in your life, to create quality of life, to be able to go over struggles and get through things together and learn how. So in the relationship roadmap, you can see that understanding emotions within ourselves and others, combined with how we communicate with people, are the most important in our lives, impacts which side of the roadmap we're in. We have pain, danger, fear, anger, right? When we have pain, we have fear. We're scared of the danger in front of us. We don't want to feel pain. We didn't come out to this beautiful world to be hurt, to not feel well. And you can see here on the slide, and you can ask somebody to read some of those things underneath the pain, danger, fear, and anger. The fact that you start not feeling entitled. You start not feeling worthy enough. You start not feeling lovable. They're not pleasant feelings, and you can't get through challenges that way. But what we want to do is, when we're not deprived of all our biological base needs and we have that bonding, we actually feel that pleasure, that desire, that love. We feel like we're entitled, that we're lovable. We feel good inside. We feel that we are good enough. Not that we might be good enough, not that we're not good enough, but we are good enough. Just because we're human and just because we're here, and that's a very special feeling. And it's very, very important for our lives in general. And we want to give that to the children that we teach this to and the families that we teach this to, and as many people as we can. And what that leads us to is the logic of love, right? If feeling that fear and danger and anger is painful and we don't like it and it feels terrible, when in contrast we can feel that pleasure, we're drawn to that pleasure. We are going to run to things that are pleasurable all the time. From the very get-go, from when we were kids, when we anticipate pleasure, we run to it. When we anticipate pain, what's the first thing we do? We try to avoid it. We try to avoid it with everything we have. So now if we put that together with what exactly is the logic of love and emotion, is that when we anticipate pleasure, we have feelings of love. We're not talking about the commitment, signing a paper. We're talking about feelings of love. So when we know that anticipating pleasure creates actual feelings of love, all of a sudden we know that we have a lot more influence on the possibilities for our life than we really thought we did. It's not just that we're winging relationships. It's not just that somebody's going to stay with us because they signed a paper. But I can be a part of creating those feelings of love for my partner. I can do things that are pleasurable, just as they'll know that they can do things that are pleasurable to keep those feelings of love alive. So that's really important. From the get-go, we know there's a roadmap. And we know that there's pain, we know that there's pleasure. And we know that those feelings of love is from the anticipation of pleasure.